Hello and welcome. I am so pleased that you are here today to join us for this conversation. I am your host, Marianne Pack, spiritual guide into all things life transformational. And I have a wonderful guest, my dear friend, Dr. Laura Monk, with us today. Welcome, Dr. Laura.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. I'm super excited for our conversation.
I am too. This is going to be good. So let's set our intention as we always do, and set our intention today to commit to being open to physical pleasures, even as we age, that we are worthy, that we are deserving, that it is still part of who we are, and look for opportunities to learn something from Dr. Laura today as she talks to us older gals and about physical pleasures, sensuality, and all those beautiful physical things that we still possess even today.
Beautiful.
So, Dr. Laura and I met during a year-long coaching program with our mentor and coach, Darla Ledoux from Sourced Experience. And so we are so thrilled that we have continued to work with each other over the years. And I am so looking forward to having to share Dr. Laura with you and her beautiful work in the world. So tell us, Laura, who is Dr. Laura and what good do you bring into the world?
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. That's such a lovely introduction. And I think it's probably a good idea to point out that I'm not a medical doctor. My PhD is in psychology, social psychology. Actually, I worked and researched for many years as a psychotherapist. Still am a psychotherapist, and I moved into coaching in the last couple of years through my training in sex, love, and relationship coaching. So I have a particular standpoint on sexuality that's not medical. It's more about understanding who we've become as products of our upbringing and our environments, familial and cultural and societal. And also because my training has a tantric element, I understand the spiritual aspects of sexuality, the sacred sexuality that Tantra offers us.
Well, we'll have to talk a little bit more about that because there are some, I'm sure, that don't understand exactly what Tantra is. So what made you interested in becoming a sex, love, and relationship coach? What was it that piqued your interest? Because you have a background of psychotherapy. What moved you and kind of pivoted or helped you evolve into something new and a bigger growth?
Yeah, so it was not a direction that I was intending to go. It took me quite by surprise, really. I was in academia and psychotherapy, quite serious environments, very psychological. And it was after my second marriage ended, and I had ventured out into the world of dating and found myself in this absolutely delicious relationship that completely woke me up, woke my body up, woke me up to a whole new world of pleasure and joy and satisfaction that I had never known. So it was partly that whole beautiful experience of coming alive in that way, but also the disbelief in a way. I was literally pinching myself while I was in that relationship. It was so good, and I was so lit up in a way that I had never experienced before. And because I was in my 50s at that point, and I had been through 2 long marriages, 10 years, 15 years and 10 years, and I'd been through the menopause, so I was post-menopausal. You know, this didn't make sense to me. I wasn't supposed to be having this kind of experience in my 50s. I'd never heard of that, you know, and so part of me was in this state of disbelief. And there was also this other part of me that was incredibly intrigued as to how it was possible that I had got to that age without knowing all this stuff, without knowing how great sex could be, without knowing that sex could be such a beautiful, intense, life-changing spiritual experience. I had never heard of such a thing, and it really set me on a path of researching, because I was a researcher at the time. So I did some research. I was very curious about, well, what makes great sex? Why have I never discovered this before? Why aren't my girlfriends talking about this? You know, there's so many questions I had that I wanted answers to. And that's what set me on the path to discovering Tantra. And Tantra held a lot of answers for me. And of course, it still does. I'm only recently on that path. I mean, it's a lifelong path, really. Yeah.
That's so amazing. Yeah. I'm so happy for you.
It was amazing.
So with this, our topic today is reconnecting to your sensual self as an older woman. Yeah. So we both fit in that category. So this is what we're going to get to talk about today. And do you see this topic, because this has always been hush hush, you know, older people don't talk about their physical bodies. They don't talk about anything around pleasure, because that's just, ew, gross. My grandparents or my parents are this. You know, that just can't be. Do you see any of that shifting? Because I know you do work with a lot of older women. Do you see any of that conversation shifting in your practice?
I see things shifting. I see things shifting in my practice, or although I guess that's because I am now being out in the world, having these types of conversations, advertising myself as somebody working in this area. So somebody going to my website for psychotherapy will see that I also do sex, love, and relationship coaching. So yes, I am finding that more people are showing up, making inquiries about psychotherapy that has an element of sexuality. Now, I have traditionally, historically, always worked around sexuality, but always around sexual abuse, child sex abuse, sexual trauma, domestic and sexual violence. Those were my specialist areas. So I'm very experienced in working with those issues. So I still get people commonly coming to me for those issues. But coaching is more about being at a point where you've worked through those deeper core issues, and you're working more towards fulfilling desires for better sex or more sacred sex, or to work through relationship problems or problems and issues of the heart, heartbreak, or how to find love. Those kind of issues. It's not to say you can't enter coaching without problems, because that's part of the journey, part of working through the blocks and barriers to reaching your desire.
Right.
And so some people will come for psychotherapy and some people will come for coaching, and some people will be a kind of a combination. It will be, let's work through these issues, that trauma coming from whatever, in order for me to reach my desires. Yeah.
I like that, you combine it. It's not just all, I don't know, very textbook.
Mhm.
I would guess psychotherapy is very textbookual
Mhm,
or what.
mhm, mhm,
It's it's almost, very standard where coaching can be so
mhm,
flexible to meet the needs of that individual.
mhm, mhm.
And since we're Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, as you were saying that, I mean, I don't want to offend any psychotherapists. So, psychotherapy can be, I mean, I'm a psychotherapist myself. Yes, we can be very flexible. I think what's interesting around the issues of sex is that, well, certainly my experience has been that people come for to work through in therapy sexual abuse and trauma, and they get to a certain point where they feel okay, and that involves, reclaiming an identity of being a survivor. So going from victim to survivor, learning how to manage, to regulate emotions and manage your life and your relationships, and just feeling okay about who you are. Whereas
Mm.
coaching, it it's more about exploring the potential for
Yes.
sexual fulfillment beyond being a survivor, beyond being okay, to something
Mm,
exponential. Um, and I find this is one area around sexual trauma where there often aren't the roots towards that kind of expansion, evolution, enlightenment. And there's no reason why that should be. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, in my experience, and I'm speaking as a survivor myself, I don't see any reason why you can't experience sexual fulfillment of any level, no matter what your background or what you've been through, who you are, what your experience is in the world. I don't see just surviving as an end point. I see many, many possibilities.
I like that. I like that you and your clients can explore those possibilities.
Hmm.
There is more to life than just surviving,
Yeah.
that go beyond that
Hmm.
because you're not just a survivor. We're here in this life to experience as much joy as
Yeah.
possible. Surviving is not the joy that
Hmm.
we're meant to live.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's beyond that. It's greater.
Hmm.
It's broader. It's that, pleasure in every area
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
you also teach a lot about self-care, just self-care.
Hmm.
Speak a little bit about that how that might even be a springboard for somebody to explore anything new, those possibilities.
Yeah, so that was another route into this work. So while I was having all the experiences that I was telling you about that got me into this work, there was also another element of my work, my research and my therapeutic work that revolved around self-care. Uh,
Mhm.
my doctoral thesis was around improving professionals' responses to a certain client group, and the lack of self-care was one of the problems I identified. A lot of professionals
Mm.
in that area don't look after themselves and get burnt out. So I was very interested in self-care anyway. And when I discovered Tantra and got interested in great sex, I started to notice how self-care articles and books and writings didn't seem to include much about sex. And I was finding out and experiencing that sex was an amazing route to feeling good about yourself, a route to feeling well and healthy and bringing more joy and pleasure into your life. You know, the classic example being the way that orgasm is a fantastic stress reliever. You know, if you release a massive amount of stress through orgasm.
Mhm.
And so I became very attuned to that absence in the literature. And I understood that that was something around the taboo of talking about sex, you know,
Yes,
so it just
absolutely.
wasn't included, even though it's, you know, it's a legitimate route of self-care. It just didn't seem to be included. So I
Mhm.
started looking at that area and have conducted um, love, sexy self-care retreats, which are really about connecting to the sensual aspects of ourself, of taking
Mhm.
time to care for our sensual pleasure bodies as part of um, learning to love ourselves and accept ourselves. And self-love is really key in reconnecting to your sexuality and a really important aspect of self-care. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I've been in one of Dr. Laura's groups
Mm.
group workshops, and it's not weird because you turn your video off,
Mhm.
and but it's not it's she leads us through just pleasurable
Mm.
things. It just even I remember especially, the chocolate, unwrapping the chocolate,
Mhm.
just things that give us pleasure,
Yeah.
just to trigger, "Oh, I can actually enjoy this piece of chocolate?"
Yeah.
It's not, "Oh my gosh, I'm eating another piece of freaking chocolate."
Mm.
No, it's not that. It's that she just awakens those senses that are just
Yeah.
buried in our physical awareness.
Yeah.
Just enjoying something as simple as a piece of chocolate.
Mhm.
The I know you say that older women have a subset of barriers.
Mm.
So what do you mean by that? Because we're talking to the older gals. These are the ones we want to address. And I know you've mentioned that. So what do you mean by a subset of barriers?
Mm.
Maybe that a younger person wouldn't have.
Yeah, so this work, yes, you can do this work at any age. You can have this sex love and relationship coaching at any age. The reason I focus on older women is, well, I'm an older woman myself in my 50s, and I have been through quite a few of these experiences that I really want women to know they don't have to settle for less. They don't have to settle for the status quo. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can reconnect to this beautiful sensuality that we all have within us. So there may be issues that younger women don't have, such as having been through the menopause or going through the menopause. You know, there's this great myth around the menopause that you just are not a sexual being once you've been through the menopause, that, you know, you just become some kind of dried up old prune who, you know, doesn't have sex anymore. Um, that you know, your body isn't capable of being luscious and juicy and right for sexual encounters, and it's just not true. It's a myth. You know, research shows that women in their 60s and 70s and beyond are having better sex than young people, are having the best sex of their lives, and there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, there's when women in particular are no longer stuck in positions of like mothering and caring and full-time
Yeah.
housekeeping as well as or childcare and a job, or all these responsibilities that mean we have so little time for ourselves. Perhaps when all those are out the way, they have more time for themselves. And also women today, they don't stay in relationships forever so often. Some do. Those issues that they might have might be around the physical body, but it also might be their external appearance and the conditioning, societal conditioning, that we think an
Yeah.
older woman can't be attractive, that we don't think of older women as being sexy. But of course, that's nonsense. We see all sorts of people in the media, all sorts of amazing older women who are rocking it, and whatever age. And I guess there's a fear of judgment, a fear of criticism. Um, you know, I'm lucky enough to have very supportive people around me, and the people that aren't supporting me, I'm not that bothered about, quite frankly. But there may be women who would love to explore their sexuality, but actually that's quite a scary thing for them if they have
Mm.
perhaps family members or friends or their community who would be very judgmental about that.
Yes.
If they suddenly started turning up looking obviously sexy, like they're connected to their sexuality, you have a different kind of energy about you, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and that might be quite a scary thing. It might be an unacceptable thing. There are a lot of barriers actually to women connecting with their sexuality at all ages, but for older women, there are these extra layers. So yeah, even more taboo. Actually, something you said at the start of this conversation about it, you used the word gross, and I was thinking actually of a story this guy used to tell. I remember when I was very young, and he used to tell this story about a friend of his who kind of had this sexual encounter in a nightclub one night with who he was calling a granny, and it was supposed to be like this gross thing like his friend had done. And I was thinking about it just recently. I was thinking, she was probably about my age, and because I'm old enough to be a grandmother. I've got children late 20s and 30s. I'm not a grandmother, but of course I'm old enough to be a grandmother. So there's like that, that association with grandmothers and
Mhm.
sex that is kind of gross, but that's just conditioning. I'm aware
Yes.
that that's just conditioning. That is not true. That's not a true thing. That's just a concept. Women women can be sexual beings and enjoy sex and their sensuality for as long as they want to. And it's not a gross thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing and an incredible source of not just pleasure, but also creativity and love and healing and self-expression and authenticity,
Mm.
and spirituality. It all depends on the perspective.
Yes, it's definitely perspective, that's for sure.
Mhm,
It's like you said, you're old enough to be a grandmother,
mhm,
and yet, if you think about age, some woman could be in her 40s and be a
yeah,
grandmother,
mhm,
and somebody else would envision them being old.
mhm,
A young
yeah,
person might consider them old just because they got a grandchild,
mhm,
and they're still in a very vital part of their life.
mhm,
So do you see when they learn how to kind of lean into their physical pleasures that they kind of have a confidence?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, does it show up? You also mentioned the creativity,
Mm,
and I love this aspect that you're talking about
mm,
because that confidence, that creativity, so many of the new entrepreneurs
mm.
are older
Yeah,
women. Many of them don't start until after they're 60.
yeah,
So this is a time of exploring new, of expanding ourselves,
yeah.
not shrinking into this,
No,
miserable little old lady
absolutely.
sitting in a rocking chair.
Yeah,
And I don't diss rocking chairs because I sit in one every morning on the front porch drinking
yeah.
coffee and visiting with my sweet husband.
Mhm.
So, but it's that vision that we
Mm.
have of the little old granny
Yeah,
instead of this is a creative, expansive woman
yeah,
with confidence and starting a business or having the freedom to volunteer or do something that she's always wanted to
yeah.
do. Speak to that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Post-menopause, and moving into the second half of our lives is an opportunity for all sorts of um, possibilities and new experiences, whether that's in relationship, business, or any area of creativity. You know, in my work, we do a lot of breath work and energy work and focusing on the chakra system. And the second chakra is an area of sexuality, emotional stability, and creativity. In the womb, and connecting with that part of you um, helps expansion in all of those areas. To be able to feel comfortable with our bodies and our sexuality and who we are as women can give us the confidence to do all sorts of things in life.
Mhm.
Anything we want, really, anything we desire. If you can imagine it, then you can reach for it.
I love that. I remember Louise Hay talking about her mother,
Mhm.
and her mother actually didn't start this foundation, this organization that she wanted to, leave as a legacy to the world until she was 80.
Wow. Incredible.
I know.
Mm,
Yeah, if you look at, I mean, some of the stats that I've looked at as far as like entrepreneurs and women in business,
mm,
so many
mm.
of them are women starting businesses after 60.
Yeah, yeah.
That creativity just explodes,
Mm.
and they have the time and they have the energy and they have the
Yeah.
resources, and this to me is all wrapped up in how you're feeling about yourself.
Yes.
And if you're not experiencing pleasure, you're not going to have the confidence. You're not going to have that creative, like she said, the second chakra
Mm,
is the sacral.
mhm,
So it's
mhm.
that's part of creativity.
Absolutely, it is. Mhm,
It's that fertile mind, it's that fertile ideas, it's being open to your intuition
mhm,
because intuition flows through us.
mm.
Uh,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, the energy from the sacral chakra, you know,
mhm,
it's so powerful. It can power us to do so many things once we learn how to tap into it and
mhm,
draw upon it. You know, it's not to say that we have to be able to use that. Of course, there are many older women who are going into business and doing all sorts of extraordinary things who don't um, do any kind of work to do with the chakras or energy, or they don't know anything about it. But, that's very
right,
often coming from a place of real effort, of working really hard, um,
True.
of sheer willpower and hard work in making things happen. You know, this is
Mhm.
a more feminine way of
Yeah.
tapping into our natural resources and to sourced energy, um,
Mhm.
to create from the natural resources, the feminine way.
Yes.
Yeah.
That and the difference of that balance of masculine, feminine energy, I
Mhm.
know that is so important because it's so been in such imbalance.
Mhm.
You know, so many businesses are run with masculine
Mhm.
energy, aggressive, push forward, hard work, and yet from an emotional or heart-centered side that is a more feminine,
Mm.
um, uh, nurturing
Yeah.
spirit, a nurturing energy.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Um,
the chakra system is really great for tapping into our natural energy the from the root and being really grounded, to that sacral area, right up to of course, the heart center, um, and leading up to the awareness and intuition and imagination of from the third eye. You know, it's an incredible system that we can learn to tap into. And as you say,
mhm,
it's the feminine way. It's very different
mhm.
to that masculine energy.
Yes.
Hmm.
And we have to think too that our those things that we call gut instincts,
Hmm.
that is our intuition speaking to
Mm,
us.
yeah,
When something's off or something feels
yeah,
right, guess where it's located?
absolutely. Yeah, that's the third.
Your sacral
That's the
chakra.
solar plexus. Yeah, and
And moving up, yes,
hmm,
up to the solar plexus where our personal power is, and
hmm, hmm,
right through the heart and through the throat so we can speak it out and
yeah,
communicate it and,
hmm,
you know, envisioning more and,
hmm,
oh, it's just,
yeah, so
this
powerful.
it really
Hmm.
is. When we can understand that we're energetic beings, that we're vibrating beings, every thought, every emotion, our body, everything is energy.
Hmm.
So everything is always in motion
Hmm.
and everything is always creating the vibration.
Yeah, yeah.
So because the universe language is vibration.
Hmm. Yeah.
So you know, our source, our intuition, the universe, whatever you call your higher power,
Hmm.
is understanding what you mean by how you
Yeah.
feel, by that vibrational response, because we're transmitters and
Yeah.
receivers.
Hmm. Hmm.
You can't stifle the receiving part either.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're
So when you're tapped into that energy, you can use that
mm,
energy to manifest your desires around sex, love, and
mm,
relationship. You know, it's all there. The resources are all there within us, no matter what
right.
age you are. Hmm.
Absolutely. So kind of what do you hear like from clients or just having your ear out there, the awareness? You know, what are some of the stories that older women tell themselves that are just like you said, are a myth?
Mm.
Because I think, you know, again, there's such a stigma around sexuality as a whole.
Hmm.
Heaven forbid should any older people, even
Hmm.
men,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
thinking about, "Ooh, that's
Yeah.
grandpa."
Hmm.
You know, "That couldn't
Yeah.
be. That's
Yeah.
weird," you know? So how what stories do you hear from women that of reasons maybe they come to you because they want to be aware, they want to wake up
Hmm.
this side of them?
Yeah. So women will either be in a relationship or not. Um,
Mm,
and usually, if they're in a relationship, it will be the case that um, they they have come to belief or place in life where they think they don't want sex anymore, and it's become like
Mhm.
a kind of a burden. Maybe their partner still does, and it's become a bit of a chore. And um, they may want a bit of help in, how can I make this easier, or what can I do about it? That it's coming from a place of being really thinking that there's something wrong with them, like why,
Mhm.
or maybe something wrong with their husband for still wanting sex. So it's coming from a place of a problem. um, and if they are in a relationship and the tables are turned and they still have sexual desire, they are still have a very alive body, but perhaps their partner has gone off sex, or that it's just not happening in their lives anymore. That can be very difficult, especially if they've been in a long-term relationship, because they've got
Mhm.
desires that are not being met and they don't know how to get them met, because they might really love their partner, been together for years,
Sure.
and it's not that they want to
Mhm.
end the relationship, but they've got these unfulfilled desires, and they may make them feel um, somehow kind of ashamed, like bad, like, why am
Mhm.
I still feeling sexy when, I shouldn't be at my age? Like none of my friends are, like, and it's not something they can even talk to their friends about. So there's that, being in a relationship, and like the two people are out of balance, they haven't got the same desires, or women are not in the relationship. Now, they may have been in a long term relationship, a long marriage, and perhaps they've lost their husband, perhaps their husband's died, and they've had some years of grieving, and they're beginning to feel lonely and thinking about another relationship, and the idea terrifies them. They don't know how to find a partner. It's all online dating now, and everything's
Mhm.
changed, and they're terrified of somebody seeing their body.
Do you think also that then they also get messages from maybe their kids?
Yeah, for sure.
"Mom, you can't go dating.
Yeah.
You can't go do this.
Yeah.
You're too old for
Yeah,
that."
there's a lot of that.
I mean,
Yeah.
just getting bombarded with all kinds of things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of judgments, from those up close, and people who, quite frankly, it doesn't matter. It's like, they're on the fringes of your existence, and we still worry about, what people might say. We don't even know them; they don't even know us. Um,
Mm.
so there's, venturing out into the world of dating, which just can feel so daunting. Um, and, there's also perhaps women who've been on their own for some time, who actually don't want to be in a relationship and are thinking about themselves as sensual beings still, and maybe want to explore um, the sensual aspect of themselves out of relationship. Just because
Mhm.
we're not in a relationship, it doesn't mean we stop having sexual bodies. So some women want to have education, when they're single. And actually, my teacher, Layla Martin, has really switched me onto this whole idea that I'd never known about my whole life. And I know a lot of people don't think about sex like this, but, we kind of go into um, sex in our lives as young people, or whenever we enter a relationship, thinking that it's just something that happens. Two people get together and it happens, and quite often it's not what you think it's going to be, or
Mhm.
it might be better than you thought, but it might also be really disappointing. But it kind of is what it is. It's like there's some kind of mystery that, what it's about, the chemistry. Different people get together and you have that experience, or you have a different experience with somebody else. But what Layla Martin teaches is that we have potential. we have erotic potential, sexual potential from our sexual energy to be anything we want to be. We have this sexual energy, and energy is potential, potential to be anything. And we don't actually have to accept sex the way it's always been. We can explore sex as something to learn and get better at and find even more enjoyment and excitement, as long as we have the curiosity and the interest to explore our bodies, explore our relationships, explore the potential for something that we didn't even imagine. It's like so many things. It doesn't have to be just one way. It can be another way. Like if you use the piano analogy, anybody can learn a little tune on the piano, but to be a virtuoso takes practice. Many years of practice. It's the same with anything.
And again, creativity, confidence, practice,
Mm-hmm.
Spending time feeling into the sound of the music.
Mm.
It's just, yeah, you could carry that analogy
You could, yeah. As you were
way
saying that, I
out
was
there.
thinking about a solo player and a duet. Again, there's all sorts of possibilities.
Yes. You are correct there. Um, how do you help women when they come to you?
Mhm.
What's something, some of even the programs or some of the things that you do to kind of kickstart that? Or
Mm.
um,
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm not exactly sure what to ask there, because again, this is such an area that we are so uneducated on
Yeah.
that
Mhm. Yeah.
so so what kind of programs do you have, that how can people coach with you, or how can people, you know, look at this subject in a different way, in a different light?
Mhm. Yeah, I understand your question, and I guess there's a process, there's a method, there's a journey that
Mhm.
starts with always getting really clear on a woman's desires around sex, love, and relationships. So we spend a lot of time getting clarity, because if you're not really clear about exactly what it is that you want, it's very difficult to get there. So we start with the desires, work out what it is that a woman really wants, and then we go on the journey to find out how to get there together. It's a collaboration, and it's working through the blocks and barriers then that are getting in the way of achieving that desire. It's learning new tools such as breath work and embodied practices that connect a woman to her body, such as an example of that would be breast massage, which is a really beautiful foundational practice because it's in the heart space and the heart chakra.
Yes.
We are connecting to love and healing and compassion for ourselves. So, self breast massage as a practice can really get you connected to self love, to self acceptance. Um, so, practices that connect you to your body, connect you to your energy, as we were speaking about earlier, those will be pieces that will help take a woman towards achieving her desires. Through the blocks and barriers, connecting to the body, there may be different pieces, like we may uncover a sense of low self-worth or a lack of
Yes.
deservingness, or some
Yeah.
faulty belief system. There are all sorts of things that are getting in the way, and then there are all sorts of practices that can help create the change, and they will be internal and external. So working on building self-love, self-compassion, and practicing with the body externally. So yeah, it's this beautiful process, internal and external, and I'm helping to create that supportive environment where a woman is learning those practices and different ways of being. I'm guiding her through the practices in the calls. We're staying very on track towards her desires, you know, what's working, what's not, what's getting in the way, what else can we try, um,
Right.
until she reaches her desires.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think yeah, do you think, do sometimes women come to you and they don't really know what their desires are? They just know they wanna feel better,
Mhm.
or they feel like something's
Mhm.
missing, or they really sometimes can't even put their finger on it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, so my program for older women is called the Grace Program, and I start with an intake form that asks quite a lot of questions around the life circumstances and around the relationship, and that actually starts a person really thinking about what it is that they don't want and what it is that they do want. But they often know what they don't want more than what they do want. Um,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
always.
and that first the discovery call that I offer for that program, um, it's um, it's about a 2-hour call, and it's very in depth, and we really get to the heart of what it is that a woman wants. So although you know, I'm talking uh, here today about women reconnecting with their sexuality, they won't often turn up saying, I want to reconnect with my sexuality.
Right.
It'll be yeah, it'll be something like,
I'll put it that way.
yeah, it'll be something like, you know, I just feel really unhappy in my relationship, you know.
Oh,
I
yes,
you know,
yes.
I just feel like it's all empty and pointless and grey. Um, or, you know, I really want a relationship, but you know, every time I meet somebody, I just keep meeting the wrong person. I just keep having really horrible experiences. Um, or, you know, I'm in a long-term relationship, and sex is just really boring and I hate it, or it's really painful and uncomfortable, you know, if there's a lot of trauma stored in the body, for example, you know. So there will be, yeah, all these things that people don't want. So women, you know,
Right,
being unhappy with something and kind of getting a sense that there is something else out there, and they may not be very clear about what that is
right.
before we explore. But that real deep dive into exploration usually um, brings it to the surface. If not in the first meeting, you know, certainly by the second meeting, we will get to a point of clarity, you know. And there's always this beautiful moment um, where that clarity comes, and you know, they will say, yes, that's it, yes, that's
Yeah,
exactly what I want. uh,
there you go.
yeah, you know, we always get there, you know. So it's just a matter
Mhm,
of it's a process of discovering, you know,
mhm.
always going beyond the don't wants into, yeah, what is it that you really desire. It's a beautiful process.
I would imagine so.
Mhm.
And just to me, I would think that someone in that position, then when they finally get to actually being able to verbalize or understand with the clarity that you lead them through,
Mhm.
that it would just be like, bing, light
Yeah,
bulb goes
it
off,
is.
know, "Oh, this is what I'm missing."
Yes, yes.
and this is how I can explore it. And
Mhm.
so to me, the relief maybe that someone would feel,
Yeah.
or just
Yeah,
hopeful.
definitely those things.
They bring such a hopefulness to
Yeah.
them that life isn't
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, definitely. Relief and hope and excitement. This is real excitement, like, wow, I could
Mm,
really have this thing that, I it's my heart's deepest desire. Like, it can
mhm.
really be a possibility for me, and that's a really beautiful thing.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I'd like to have you share. I'm gonna put up your this is your grace program.
Mhm.
So talk to us a little bit about what you are offering our older ladies that
Wow.
happen to be watching.
Yes, I would love to offer your listeners a discovery call, a grace discovery call. So that's the call that I was just describing. It's about 2 hours, and it's a real in-depth dive into
Mm,
discovering what it is that you really desire around sex, love, and relationships. And even if you didn't want to do one of my programs, it's actually a really incredibly valuable conversation in itself because of
mhm,
that clarity that you will find um, through, as I say, this exploration into what it is that you don't want and what it is that you do want. And it's beyond a conversation because I take women through some of the practices, um,
mm.
going deep into the body, using the breath and the energy to get right down deep into their bodies and connecting to what it is that they really desire. So that is a grace discovery call, and I am offering that to your listeners up. The booking, they can book that call up until the end of the year using a code, which is
Okay.
discover free, and the code is all capitals, all one word, discover free, and they can use that code up until the end of the year. So that's the 31st of December. They don't have to use the session. They can book a session in the new year, but they have to have made the booking um, before the end of the year.
Okay. I am going to put this on
Hmm.
here.
Yeah,
So be sure that you use, did did I say that right? Discover free?
discover free, absolutely,
That's
and
it.
expires.
Code, and it expires 12/31/20.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
yeah,
So if they schedule by 12/31/20, their appointment may fall into the new
yeah, that's
year.
fine. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. Gotcha. Well, I so appreciate tell us just a little bit too about your grace program.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
um, because we didn't get to explain that. I mean, we talked about the discovery call, but
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So all of the elements that I've described, all of the method and the tools, it is a program over 3 months, and we have weekly calls. They are about 90 minutes. They're quite lengthy, um, and it's all one-on-one, and it's this beautiful process where we work together on your desires, and uh, there is real transformation in that
mm,
work. It's not just about achieving a goal. You can really expect to be transformed by the experience, so you will be a different person at the end of that program than when you enter, for sure.
and tell us the grace is an acronym, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I have another program called Safe in Your Body, And a lot of the work that I do is begins in safety. It begins in grounding. So G is for grounding, and R is for resources. So this is a really foundation. So be grounded and resourced. A stands for being in alignment. So your exterior is aligned with your interior. So you are aligned with your true essence, your authentic sexual self. So A is for authentic. Two. And C is for confident and compassionate and creative. And E is for empowered and embodied.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm sure people that go through this program, like you said, this is transformational work.
It is.
It's not just learn the ABCs.
No, it's deep.
Emotion. This is the deepness.
Yeah.
This is the feminine side. This is rediscovering, reconnecting, wholeness of who you are, spirit, mind, and body.
Yeah, that's right.
So I so appreciate you sharing your work with us today and stories that we can go take away and know that there is hope. We don't have to live some kind of a miserable life. If we want something more, ask for it. Ask for help. This is why we coach. This is about the transformational lives that we want to live. Are living as much joy as possible. So I appreciate you. Y'all go to Dr. Laura's website and look for that discovery call, and then use that code, all caps, discover free. And remember, it expires at the end of this year. So take advantage of this. This is an offer that she actually charges for.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a high valuable offer that she's offering to our listeners for free. So be sure and schedule that with her. Do you have any parting words of wisdom you would like to leave us with?
Well, I would like to thank you so much for this conversation. It's been really so much fun and really beautiful. And thank you to all the listeners out there. I guess parting words of wisdom are to listen to your body. Your body has so much wisdom. Listen to your body. Take the time to listen to what she's telling you. And if she would like to connect with more pleasure and joy and satisfaction, I would love to hear from you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'd like to take a moment and let you know that this is our last live interview for this year. And the next time we get together for Coffee and Convo Live will be Sunday, December the 27th. And again, at 10 a.m. Central, right here on my Facebook page, Marianne Pack Coaching, and also on YouTube, Marianne Pack. But what I want to talk to us about is thank you for being our audience, but also let you know what's coming up in 2021, because there's new changes, there's new things happening, there's new programs, there's going to be a new podcast and a coaching concierge membership. This year has so sparked my interest in highlighting coaches and their work that I am actually creating a coaching concierge service and membership so that I can help you find the right coach, because it is so difficult to find a coach that's of value and has integrity, and you just don't know who to start with. So watch for all of these things, and we'll talk more about these on the next Coffee and Convo, our very last one, December the 27th. So I want to invite you also. You're always welcome to visit our website, maryannpack.com, and explore around there. We have a 31-day free downloadable journal of positive aspects. We have intuition, which is the anointing oil that I received from the many. We have Ask the Many, where you can ask your burning question of my spirit guides, and I return their answer to you. So there's just other options that you can look at. So please be sure and visit there. You can also shop and donate there. So I so appreciate you, Laura, for spending time with us this morning.
Appreciate you too,
And
Marianne. Thank you.
so we'll talk to you all next time. Love you all. Bye.